coming at you guys live from our Dallas headquarters, first ever BSN Sports Podcast, which is pretty cool, exciting stuff. We've talked about doing this for a while, and now we have a really good reason to. So today, I'm here with Nate Lewnes and Joel White, our two lacrosse brand ambassadors. These guys just came back from Israel for the FIL World Games, which is the equivalent of the FIFA World Cup for lacrosse. Both had great tournaments. We're going to talk a little bit about the tournament, and then we're going to talk more so about the coaching clinics that these guys do. So first question I wanted to ask you guys, and I'll start with Joel. What was the coolest thing about the World Games, and just how was it over there in Israel?
Yeah, thanks. Pumped to be here. This is exciting, and special thing to talk about in terms of playing lacrosse. But in terms of the best part about the World Games for me was every time we were on the field and we're playing, whether it be practice or a game, you kind of take a minute and you turn around and you just have this feeling. You're like, wait a second. You forget that you're in the Middle East. And I think that was the coolest part, is that we were playing lacrosse in the Middle East. And, when you talk about lacrosse in the States, it's like, oh, that's that sport they play in the Northeast. And then, you turn around and you travel all the way to Israel and play there. And so that, to me, was the coolest part about the growth of the game of lacrosse. And that's the thing that was special to me. And obviously, to be able to play for Team USA, pull on that uniform, I think the moments right before the game when they're playing the national anthem, is a pretty cool thing to be able to stand there and get ready to play with USA across your chest. A great honor for me, and so those two things definitely stand out in terms of the coolest part.
And USA won gold, by the way. Coolest thing, I was over there too. We'll talk to Nate too, of course. But coolest thing for me was leaving my taxi driver, heading back to the airport. I had a lacrosse shirt on or something, and he said, "So were you here for the lacrosse tournament?" The guy's from Israel, never seen the sport ever. But because there were so many lacrosse people over there in his town, he's from Netanya, where the games were played. Former Israeli soccer player, actually was on the national team in the 70s. So we spent a long time in the car together.
This guy sounds like a legend.
Yeah, we talked quite a bit. But he went to the championship game, and it was a 9-8 thriller of a game. Crazy ending. That's the coolest thing for me about lacrosse is it is such an awesome sport. You don't have to understand it. It could be your first time watching it. But when two super high level teams play, it's always a great product. And the guy was so interested. He's like, I wish we had lacrosse. It's a lot like soccer and like basketball, which it totally is. So really, that to me was the coolest thing, just having that conversation with that guy after the game. What about you, Nate?
I think the coolest thing, first of all, the coolest thing for me was I got to play and work at the same time. So between games, I would actually go to the vendor booth, and we had our BSN sports table set up. And I think that was one of the most unique experiences, because you get to meet, one or two guys from 46 different teams, and you meet a guy from Turkey who's we're doing giveaways the whole week, and he's so excited to see this Maverick head. And when you go to lacrosse tournaments here, every kid has seen every stick. There's a local lacrosse store within 5 minutes of every kid now. But here, these guys, they don't have that. So when they see all this stuff we're giving away, they get super excited, and they tell you all about how they started lacrosse and their journey. So, that was really cool. And every day it was different. It was Peru, China, Turkey. So that was definitely unique. And then obviously getting to play for Team Greece, and my background, my grandfather was born in Greece. So, I know he watched every single game back at home, no matter what time it was. So that was really cool to know he was there supporting me, and I could wear the Greece jersey and make him proud. So that was awesome.
Yeah, Nate, I'll pump your tires. Nate was, I think, leading the tournament in goals at one point and blew his groin out and lost a step or two, but was having a great tournament. I got to watch some of your games, which was fun. And we'll start with you, Nate. How was coaching over there compared to here? Who were the coaches for your team? How did, on the international level, how do they find these coaches? Talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, so our coaches, our head coach was Coach Athens, and he's the assistant at Furman. Then we had a guy named Chris Panos, who used to be an assistant at Bucknell. And those guys, they found him. We have one guy, his name was George, who pretty much set everything up and did a ton of research, spent a lot of money and a lot of time and effort into it. And that's the thing is a lot of these coaches are American-based coaches, but when they get over there, it's just the rules and everything are so different, and you get guys who play different styles. And I think it's really cool. You get a coach from Switzerland who actually we met at a coaching clinic last year in Tennessee, and I actually one of his players interviewed me for a senior project in Switzerland. So that was kind of cool. So you'll see those random connections here and there. So even though the coaches a lot of them are American-based, it's pretty unique that they get to travel and coach these kids that they would never get to coach otherwise.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I think just like I said, the diversity, like Nate said, is just it's pretty cool just to see all these teams that actually play. We had an opportunity to have a little bit of a practice with the Hong Kong team and just to interact with those guys. And I think it's something that is overlooked a little bit in the States, but a lot of these coaches are American based, and they go over whether they're playing college or have been here and played professionally in the States in some way, shape, or form. They'll go and coach these other countries, but what are they doing while they're not being coached at this specific World Games? And I was enlightened by this Hong Kong team is I had an opportunity to stand and watch John Galloway coach up the goalies, and he started to talk to him, and he's like, hey guys, we're going to go over this drill, and so what we're going to do, and he starts explaining the drill, and one of the guys says, oh man, footy. And that's what John calls the drill of when they roll balls at his feet and he stops them with his feet to get his feet moving. And then there was another one where he talked about like a windshield wiper save and driving his bottom hand and as opposed to his top hand. But those two things is these guys had watched every single John Galloway YouTube video, and these goalies had taught themselves off YouTube. So I think that's the interesting point to understand that there may not be coaching over there, but these other countries are so eager and so just so excited about the sport that they go out and find that, and I think that's unique. I think that's something that maybe in the U.S. we don't do. Our players don't do as much as they should, because the best way to get better at lacrosse is watch lacrosse, and the best way to gain knowledge in lacrosse is to watch those instructional videos and things like that, and they're all out there. So I think that's a great thing that I saw in terms of these other countries. Same thing with the Ugandan team. They know exactly how Paul Rabel's shooting or Tom Schreiber was coached them 4 years ago. So those guys were coming over to us, and they knew every one of us by name. And knew what college we went to. They're so engulfed in the sport, and that's what's just really cool for us to see that. And as Team USA, we were able to kind of interact with those other teams, and while briefly, it was just cool to see and exciting for the game of lacrosse.
Yeah, I mean, Team USA, definitely celebrities of all the countries over there. You guys are playing at the highest level. Obviously, won gold. You were there. Both of you guys were there for almost 2 weeks, right? Joel, maybe more. What did you get to do and experience over in Israel outside of just the games?
Yeah, we had an opportunity to go on a full day tour of Jerusalem, and I thought that was something that was really powerful for me and the team as well. We were able to have a guided tour around and just kind of see all the different how old the city is and how historic and the religious portion of it is just pretty incredible. And so we were able to do that, and that was in the beginning of our that's kind of how we were introduced to Israel. So just a little moving, emotional for a lot of people on the team, and then we were also, like I mentioned, able to get with the Hong Kong team for a little bit and hang out with those guys. But we actually did that at the Robert Kraft facility over there. So he built a multi-million-dollar facility in Jerusalem or just outside, and so it's basically they have locker rooms and offices, and then they have a lacrosse specific field, a soccer specific field, and a football specific field. So I thought that was really cool to be able to see that, and for him to allow us to go there, and for people that don't know, is Robert Kraft, obviously the owner of the Patriots. He's a very big supporter of lacrosse, and he allowed Team USA to come to Gillette Stadium, use their locker room, use their weight room for a whole week leading up to the All-Star game where we played the MLL All-Stars, and that was all available to us for at no cost. So just because he is an advocate for lacrosse, so people like that to be able to support lacrosse, and then all of a sudden you go over there and see what he's doing, in a country that he cares a lot about, is pretty cool and pretty moving. Just to be a part of that movement of lacrosse, but also other sports and what he's doing for that country.
And so Team USA had a different experience than most teams over there. I mean, they paid for you guys to go and stay. A lot of the other teams actually, I know Nate, you had to guys on your team fundraise to get over there. How was your experience different playing on Greece as opposed to what the Americans got to go through?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We stayed in a hotel called Hotel Galil, which we stayed there with two other teams. I think it was China and maybe Switzerland. But every day we would take the shuttle back and forth to the fields, and I thought that was really cool because no matter what, if we'd all take the team shuttle to the games, but after the game you were pretty much on your own, and the shuttle left every 30 minutes. So you'd sit on the shuttle with people from all over the world basically, and I'm sitting next to a guy who ends up coaching lacrosse team here in Texas at Allen High School, and he just randomly sat next to me on the bus. So those things pop up, and that was the coolest part for me is you get to meet all these people from all around the country and the world. But I got to link up with this guy who I met in England when I was 12 years old. His name's Baggy. He helps with the English team, but I haven't seen him since I went over there. So those things. And that was cool about staying over there is, you get to experience all what the other teams are doing, what they're doing on a daily basis. You get to have breakfast with them and learn about, who they're playing, how they game plan, that kind of stuff, which I thought was really cool.
So World Games wrapped up. Again, congrats to Joel for winning gold and you too, Nate, for having a good tournament. You guys are back here. I know MLL, Major League Lacrosse season's winding down. What's next for you, Joel?
So we have a couple more weeks, like you said, of MLL, where we have we're the first seed in the playoffs. In the MLL, it's only a semifinal and a final. So we have a home playoff game here in Dallas on the 11th, I believe it is, and then the following week if we win, the MLL finals will be in Charleston, South Carolina, which is a pretty cool situation. Never been there, so excited about that. Hopefully get a couple W's and get our team there. But furthermore on that is now BSN starts to ramp up for me. We're going to start running these coaching clinics around the country, which we've been doing over the past couple of years, and have really exploded. And as we talk about the growth of lacrosse across the world, it's exciting that we're able to be a small part of it, but growing lacrosse in a unique way through these free coaching clinics and on a platform that BSN allows us, Nate and I, to go around and talk lacrosse. It's a dream job of sorts. So we're excited to get those moving here, and just start to run as many as we can across the U.S. here.
Talk to me about our recent partnership with Us Lacrosse. I know that's something you've been working on. Us Lacrosse, national governing body of the sport, does a lot of coaches' education because it is so important to the growth of the game. We're now partnering with them on some levels. Can you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Very exciting for us, and you hit the nail on the head with lacrosse education and what US Lacrosse does for the sport and the growth of the sport. And we have the same mindset with the coaching clinics that we run. So I thought that it's a seamless interaction between the two of us for us to be able to work together and kind of run these coaching clinics and help to grow the game and at the coaching level, I think is really important. I mean, there's a lot of obviously growth on the players side of things with a lot of players across the country playing, but to bring up the education of coaches is super important to help the growth of those kids that are playing. So really excited about the like I said, the little bit of a unique way to help grow lacrosse through education of coaches, and Us Lacrosse is obviously with their levels and level 1, 2, and 3, basically their guidelines to coaching is an exciting piece for us to be able to partner with and work together and collaborate on different things and continue to move across the country and like I said, do our small part to help build coaching education.
And where, if I want to host a coaching clinic, or if I'm a customer or a sales professional or a team or a mom or a dad or whoever, what are the steps? Where are we looking to host them? What type of markets? Just give us the rundown.
Yeah, when you think about a coaching clinic, and you always talk about how can we host a successful coaching clinic is the big question. And for us, when we talk about it, is thinking about having 25 to 50 coaches in a room and just talking lacrosse. So the biggest thing is having a location where there's multiple teams, multiple coaches around the area within driving distance. And what these look like is on a weeknight, sometimes on a weekend we're able to provide a couple hours of coaching education. We bring in a couple different speakers. They talk about a variety of different lacrosse topics, and what this is able to do is just kind of have that classroom setting. So when we talk about what do you need just a room, auditorium type classroom with AV and a whiteboard for our speakers to kind of present what we provide dinner to these coaches just as a, hey, come up after work, why don't you come out, we'll feed you dinner and we'll talk some lacrosse for a few hours and we'll get you out of there. And so that's the thought process. And if you think that lacrosse is growing in your area and you see a bunch of teams around and there's a good amount of high schools playing, whether it be club or youth level, what have you, it's that means that there's a ton of lacrosse. That means there's coaches there, and we want to be a part of helping the growth.
Yeah, and I know growing up, and Nate can speak to this too, I'm sure, growing up in upstate New York, I thought everybody had lacrosse, but it's still growing even in the hotbed and we think really mature markets. So talk about, we've had successful clinics. Where have they been? Have they been in the hotbeds? Have they been in emerging pockets? What's been the most successful clinic for you guys?
I think last year was pretty crazy. Our Utah coaching clinic last year was one of our most successful. I think we had 50 odd coaches there, which is crazy. And another one that was successful was Boise, Idaho. We had a great one there, and actually we're having another one there this year in September. So it's just those markets you wouldn't really think about, but Utah just started obviously the first Division I program, so that was huge. And I think those markets, especially like San Diego, we had another 30 plus there, and then even in Baltimore we had 50 plus coaches there. So I think it's really anywhere where you have good sales pros and good relationships that you're able to get those those successful coaching clinics. So really, if you guys anywhere in the country we're able to do these, we're more than happy to.
Yeah, and when you talk about the wide variety of places, right? You think first and foremost when we think about these are emerging markets, right? Because they're starting lacrosse and we want to help build those, and so that's our first thought. But if we're in places we've had successful ones in Maryland and we had one in New York that was very successful. Boston has been successful for us. So those northeast. Those northeast states are while there's a lot of lacrosse, they're also a great spot to host lacrosse clinics, and a lot of times it's we can grab a bunch of different outlooks on the game of lacrosse because there's so many people that do have different backgrounds. But just to kind of roll back into that emerging market sport of lacrosse, and when you think about those, and that's probably where you'll see a lot of us, and you'll see a lot of Us Lacrosse. And the reason being is because, like I said, it's the key of these coaching clinics it really does come from the players, and so as the players continue to grow, the teams continue to grow. There's high schools playing, like I said, whether it be sanctioned or club. There's and if there's colleges around, there's a lot of these colleges have club teams. Like in Boise, Boise has a great club team. So at the university, so it's a great opportunity for us to go into markets like that and help, like I said, do our small part to help grow and grow grow lacrosse, but also grow the connection of lacrosse. And I think that's what's really important to understand is our goal is to get a bunch of coaches in a room and kind of just talk lacrosse. And that's why I always say is we like to get in a room and talk lacrosse. Is we may put something up on the screen that every coach in the room has seen, but all different ways of looking at it. So in terms of, just because I coach something one way doesn't mean that the other way is wrong. It's just another way to get to a kid. So every coaching clinic that we've run, which is we're up near the 100 mark of coaching clinics over the span of our years, and I can honestly say at every single one I've personally learned something. So I think that's important to understand is you may it's not groundbreaking stuff for some people, but at the end of the day, Ben, you may explain something a little bit different to a player than I do, and that may help us make that player stick around and play lacrosse because it helps him understand the game and how fun it is. So I think that's important as we think about these coaching clinics is it's not only just brand new stuff. I know everything about lacrosse. It's just to kind of talk about lacrosse and see what we can do to help each other build this game, because that's really what it's about, is the lacrosse community as a whole, and us just being able to help each other out as we continue to learn about this game, really, as it's still an emerging sport.
Yeah, and they're totally free events. Free education. What's the catch? Why do we do them?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think it's sometimes it's a little scary. You're like, oh, it's free. Like, what's the catch? What's going on? Is this this isn't probably not a very good event because it's free. But at the end of the day, when we talk to other coaches, all lacrosse coaches are so willing to help this and help grow the game, and because it is still an emerging sport and fairly new in a lot of places. So that's the big thing for us, and what I always say is I have the pleasure to have basically the as BSN Sports I have a platform. So that's what the cool part is, that BSN Sports allows Nate and I to go around and talk lacrosse. And be able to provide these for free. So there's really no reason for us to, charge, because we're just trying to get a bunch of coaches in a room and talk lacrosse. Now, I will say one thing that we've continued down the path of is just trying to get better and better at what we're doing. We've been able to have continued education for these coaches. So basically, we have presentations that allow them to qualify for continuing education for these coaches, which I think is super important to be able to offer even more than we have been, rather just be information. But it's also something that coaches have to go through. They have to get this continuing education to teach and to coach. So that's for us is really important, and we're really excited about that. I think that's the biggest groundbreaking thing that we'll have. The Us Lacrosse partnership and these continuing education credits are the two biggest things coming into this year that are different from last year. So we're going to continue, business as usual, but to be able to provide, another avenue of U.S. Lacrosse, certified coaching clinics from them, and then also these continuing education pieces is just a great opportunity for both us and for coaches that are going to attend.
Where do we go, to set one up? Who do we contact?
So if a sales pro or RSM's interested in hosting one, they either contact Ben Connery or Joel or myself. And basically what we'll do is we'll set up a conference call and we'll kind of talk shop, talk about where you might want to have it or why, for the reasons that you might want to have it. And then after that, it's Joel and I, setting up the RSVP page and all the marketing tools, and then we kind of count on the sales pros and RSMs to also help us out in promoting it. So really, you just contact any of us, and we'll talk you through it, and we'll figure out the best option.
Yeah, and I think the biggest piece of that is to make sure that we. That people understand that we want to. This is our job. We want to just know that there is basically there's whether it be a need or a want for these coaching clinics, and then we'll do the rest. So it's just really just kind of providing us with a location and what we need to basically have the clinic. But then from there, after we have a host and have an interest, a general interest from these coaches and from people, the community, then from there it comes back on us, and we do all the legwork to in terms of an RSVP site, a flyer, and marketing materials to kind of get the word out. So that's our job, to continue to work hard and promote this thing as well as we need to.
Yeah, and if you're ever interested or want to know if there's a coaching clinic in your area, all you have to do is go to www.bsnsports.com/lacrosse clinics, and we'll have our whole running website up there of our coaching clinics that are either set or being set within the next year.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So I know the plans to have between 30 and 40 clinics this year. Time slots are starting to fill up. So if you do have any questions on the clinics, please reach out. Now's the time to get them set up. We're going to host them all really between September and like February. So we jam-pack these clinics in. So let's get them on the calendar. Looking forward to seeing these things grow this year. To touch on your point about the continued ed hours, that's very cool. Getting people free credit hours that they need to coach in a lot of states, especially at the high school level. These are requirements and just another reason for a coach to come to our event. The US Lacrosse piece is going to be great to partner with them. So a lot of good things coming. I appreciate all the work you guys do to grow the game, to help BSN and to help coaches around the country. It's been awesome watching this thing grow, and looking forward to continued success in 2018 and 19. So.
Yeah, thanks again for having this, and I appreciate everyone sticking around to listen. And just to reiterate, please feel free to reach out, even if you think there's one team, reach out to us. We're excited to take a phone call and talk about these coaching clinics, or maybe it's just a visit from us as lacrosse people to come out and see a couple people or teams in your community. So we're excited to get ourselves out there. That's our job, and we're excited to help this out. And again, thanks for listening, and we'll hammer it home.
All right, cool. That's a wrap.